Hi guys, this month we are celebrating 1 year of Words Heal, and I decided to interview Christianne Boudreau, who is the lady who inspired me to set up this whole thing. She's also a mother and she's here with us. Although, yes, she's in Canada, I expect to raise some fundings to meet her in person, but she's here with us. Thank you so much for your time with us, Chris.
Well, thanks for having me.
You really inspired me to do all this thing because as a mother, when I first interviewed you, I was so touched by your story that I decided to take action. I don't remember if I've ever told you this thing.
No,
No?
you didn't.
Oh,
No.
yes, but that's true. You are the person who inspired me to do all these things. So thank you so much.
That's incredible because you've done a lot of work. So just seeing somebody else step up to the plate and take responsibility to make some change in society, that's a strong impact on me.
Oh. So, and today, not many people know about your story. And I like you let's start like this. Why have you decided to raise your voice against extremism?
I lost my son in Syria. He converted to Islam in 2008, and it was a good thing for him. Everything went really well. He was happy again. He was coming out of his depression. I was proud of him. And then in 2011, things started to change in our lives. And I couldn't understand what was happening, but I could see that there was a shift for him. I could see that he wasn't doing so well anymore. I was afraid he was going back into depression. Until 2012, he said, Mom, I'm going to go study in Egypt. I'm going to learn Arabic. I'm going to become an imam. So off he went. I had no idea that this was the beginning of something much bigger, that he was joining an organization, going for training, and ended up in Turkey. He later crossed the border into Syria, fought with Jabhat al-Nusra for a period of time, and then eventually the faction split off, and he went with Islamic State and died fighting for them in an execution. So after going through something like that as a mother, if somebody else had raised their voice beforehand, and I'd known that this was something to be concerned about, if I'd known where I could reach out to get the help, then we would have had a fighting chance to have my son still here and alive and well today. But without that knowledge, without that education, without knowing, then we didn't have a chance. And I wanted to make sure that other parents were aware, that everybody had a place to go to get help, and that we could start changing our society for the better so that our kids weren't moving to extremism. Because I have two younger children that I want them to grow up in a happy world, not the one that I've been seeing go.
And when Damien started shifting behavior, can you remember what kind of changes you realized?
At that time, he just became much more religious, much more serious. He was withdrawn into himself, cut off again. So once we had gotten to meet all his new friends, they were coming to visit the home. Everything was happy. It was great to see them. But with this new shift, all of a sudden the friends stopped coming around. He became very private. All the phone calls that he took, he would take away from the home. Whenever his friends would pick him up, they would pick him up around the corner. He didn't get to see them. He became more agitated and angry. He wasn't happy-go-lucky anymore. He was almost, like I said, it looked like he was going back into that depression. He was very strict on some of his beliefs, so wouldn't bend even when it was for family outings or for his younger brother, younger sister. He kept very much within himself and wouldn't bend for that. His youth group is what he called it, had priority over family outings. And he would try to pick fights and argue about justified killings, very strict about not having wine at the table, what type of restaurants we go eat at because the waitresses wouldn't be dressed properly. Certain things like that made it very, very difficult and challenging not to spark an argument with him.
And when he decided to move to Egypt, what did you tell him?
I honestly didn't believe he was going to move. And in actual fact, he didn't go to Egypt, he went straight to Turkey. But I thought that in the end, when it came time for him to leave, he was going to say, no, I'm going to stay home, because he
Mm.
was so attached to his little brother. It was far, far away, and I knew he was young, and I wanted him to travel, and I wanted him to get education and experience before settling down to have a family. So it was very difficult. I needed to support him, but yet in my heart, I thought he would stay.
And how did you find out that he ended up in Syria? Did he call
So,
you?
well, he called me when he got to Turkey. I thought he was in Egypt, and I would keep calling his cell phone on a regular basis. We talked once every 2, 3 days. And I'd say, how's your studying coming? And he said, I'm doing well. It's taking a while to adjust to the food and the water. I miss you. I miss your cooking. Just regular conversations. And then December 23rd, 2012 was the last phone call I got before it went blank. And after a month, I started getting really worried. And then I had a phone call from our CSIS agents, which are undercover investigative type agents that we have in Canada. And they said, we need to come see you. And I said, I don't even know who you are. I'd never heard of them. I didn't know Canada had an agency like that. And they showed up at my home and they told me, oh, we need to discuss Damien. And I said, oh, he's not even in Canada. What's up? They said, no, we know. We've been following him for almost 2 years. And we believe that he's crossed the border into Syria to fight the civil war with a terrorist organization.
Oh God. So during this time that Damien was in Syria, did you receive any support from an organization, expert in extremism or radicalization? Nothing.
Absolutely not. There was nothing. I tried reaching out to psychologists, anybody to help the family. The CSIS organization told us we weren't allowed to tell anybody, that it would be dangerous. So I kept this secret for quite a while. And it was very difficult to go to work every day, wait for phone calls to see if my son was okay, try to find him in videos to see if he was alive, to see if he was dead, and have nobody to share that with and not have support. It kept us cut off. And finally, I said, I don't care if it's dangerous, my family needs help and support. And I tried looking everywhere. It wasn't until the following year when a journalist helped me find Daniel Kuller in Germany with GERDS. And we connected at that time on the phone. And we went through a whole bunch of a series of questions he was asking me. So he said, I'm going to find out which organization he's with, where he's at, and we're going to start walking through steps of how we can reconnect with him and how we can try to start working on opening the doors to bring him home. And when I got the email from Daniel Kohler with the first steps to start taking, it was 2 days after I got the news that Damien had been killed.
Have you felt somehow discriminated at any point because of this? Do you think
I was
families?
discriminated against for a long time. It affected and impacted the entire family. I couldn't find work because I was public about it. I couldn't find a job. We ended up having to sell our house and move in with my parents in France just to try to survive and put our lives and pieces back together. It was very difficult on the kids at school. People picked on them, talked, about it in a negative way. It wasn't very supporting environment, even with the teachers. Nobody understood. A lot of people blamed me for the way I raised my son, blamed me for being a mother of a murderer and that I should die myself. I saw all kinds of nasty comments. And this is something that impacts the whole family. So if you keep it a secret, you don't get a chance to heal. You don't get a chance to express your feelings and get them out. And that's not healthy for anybody. And that's not healthy for younger children and siblings. So you end up with a ripple effect in the family. I've seen other families turn to alcoholism, drugs. It just destroys the weight of that kind of news, and the pressure of keeping it a secret just destroys the families. And so reaching out did allow me to meet other mothers and connect and then start the healing process and start getting stronger. So on one side, it was good. On the other side, the negative impact in society, that was a challenge. But now to this day, I don't care what other people say. They need to learn and listen and start changing their ways and start being responsible how we treat others, because that impacts everybody. When we raise our children, We do the best that we can, but the most impact that is had by them is in their environment, whether it be in school, teachers, children around them, or just other people that have an impact in their life, in everyday life, more so than what's at home. So we're all responsible as communities and society for changing our ways to build a stronger network, to build a stronger community, so that our kids aren't feeling alone and aren't vulnerable to these organizations. Mothers for Life is an organization I co-founded with Daniel Kohler. And this came about after I met Dominique Bons in France. And she lost her son as well, a couple of weeks before I lost my son. And she was a powerhouse. She was small and mighty and so strong. And she said, we need to get all of us mothers together to start fighting, to start educating the kids, to start teaching people that we need to work together and to have a safe place where we can share our memories. The following day, I flew out to Berlin to meet with Daniel Kohler in person. And I also met two other mothers. And one mother's son was killed in the same town that my son was killed in. So there's a good possibility they knew each other. And we were able to share our photos, our videos, and share memories about our children as they were as children growing up. And it was so powerful. It was a relief that somebody could understand what I was going through without judgment. And on that day, we said, yeah, we're definitely going to set something up. So in February 2015, Daniel Kohler and I set up an organization called Mothers for Life to be an outreach for mothers to have support, peer-to-peer support, to be able to connect, to have support and intervention if they had concerns about their kids or if they were grieving, whatever support they needed within their government, their countries, to network and find whatever counseling, anything that they needed. And then if they wanted to speak up, we would support them with that as well. Anything that would empower them to keep walking steps to heal. And we're working at gathering other parents now for far right as well. We're looking at building a stronger network at correcting society. And extremism is a symptom of something that's wrong at the root level, community level. So that's why we want to bring everybody together. It's difficult, it's a challenge. A lot of people are scared to come forward because they're afraid of judgment.
Yeah.
They're afraid of opening up wounds. They just want to move on. They want to forget about it. They don't want other people to pry into their lives stories. So it's a challenge. But the organizations that we have now, the sister organizations, are very strong and they're very forceful in moving forward. We do have one organization that's not a mother, but he's a young man who works with other mothers that are going through this, called Rata, and they're out of Tunisia. And he's a very compassionate young man. He's working so hard with these families. So we support him as well.
What would you say to the mothers who are watching us?
A lot of mothers, when they reach out for help, they feel judged. They feel like they're overreacting. They feel like everybody's going to judge them for reaching out for that help. And in some cases, yes, they do. And they get one door closed after another. Never give up. Always keep fighting for your kids and always look for somebody who's going to listen to you, because somebody will eventually. You can reach out to mothersforlife.org. They're all our sister organizations, some that might be in a community closer to you. Feel free to reach out to any of us, and we will do everything that we can to connect you with the right people. And maybe it is something you're overreacting about, but these are your children. And if you're worried, to me, that's not overreacting. To me, you're getting the help that you need to support through whatever it is your child is going through. Because we're too close to our children emotionally to have an objective opinion or to figure out the solution by ourselves. And we do need that support. That doesn't make us weak, that makes us strong.
Okay. Chris, thank you so much. I really admire with all my heart. You inspires me so much from the beginning until now. Every time I talk to you, every time I read about you, it keeps me stronger. It keeps me alive in this work because, as you said, it's very challenging. It's hard to move on. It's hard to continue. But as you said, we should never give up.
We can never give up. As mothers, we have to keep trying to fight for our kids and a better world for them to live.